Okay, Sunday night vlogging. I meant to do this last night, but the day kind of got away from me. Plus, I was busy with housework, and that left me kind of tired. Plus, I was finishing up reading Stephen King's Night Shift collection of short stories, and finished that late last night. So, vlogging was kind of, I was going to say it was far from my mind, but it wasn't exactly my top priority because busy reading. Wow, there's a reason why I got rather engrossed in that book, because the stories were just, woo, you know, scary, but really good. Some of them were ones that were more or less the basis for other things. There were two stories that were tied in with Salem's Lot, which is probably my favorite vampire novel behind and back of Bram Stoker's Dracula and Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Although Guillermo del Toro's The Strain trilogy is up there too. Also, the short story that was the basis for the movie Children of the Corn, which I saw a few years back. And they did a good job, I think, with that movie. I believe there's a couple sequels which I've seen clips of, but haven't seen the whole thing of it. And as I've been told, you're really not missing anything, and just watch the first one and forget the sequels. But I think they did a good job. I mean, sometimes it seems Stephen King movie adaptations can be hit or miss. And the movie version of Children of the Corn is just as good as the short story, and vice versa. So, you know, the movie really is a good distillation of the story, because I honestly think adapting short stories to screen probably works better than adapting a whole novel, and this has probably been labored ad nauseum by other critics. Well, I don't call myself a critic. I think of myself as a commentator. Anyway, semantics. But I think they did a really good job putting it to. In some ways, I think the movie was a little scarier, because I think the atmosphere was a little better, I think, in the movie, if I'm remembering rightly. It just seemed more. Not that the short story wasn't, but it was a different kind of. But you know, visual spooks are going to be different than written spooks. I mean, um, some stories do play as mini movies in your mind, and some almost beg to be put to screen, because you know I don't exactly say there's so much, there's more telling and less showing, but you kind of want to, it's like, you know, this almost begs to be translated to screen, although would that in some ways detract from the spook factor, because the best horror I have found is the one that is where the I guess I prefer subtle horror over, you know, the excessive jump scares, gore, and God knows what else. But you know, things that are subtle, like the Paranormal Activity movies. I mean, as goofy as some of the later installments are, those freak me out, because this is creepy stuff happening to normal people in normal situations, and sometimes it's just little tiny subtle things that just, you know, blink and you'll miss it. But if you keep watching, then you'll see just something that just makes you go, you know, and then you have trouble walking down your dark hallway at night after you've watched this thing. Which, you know, when it achieves that, that's good filmmaking, you know? You know, when the spook factor lingers with you after you've closed the book or finished what, you know, turned off the movie or whatever, you know, when it lingers with you. I mean, not in a way that I hope, not in a way that leaves you icky. I'm looking at you, David Cronenberg. Although, when Cronenberg is good, he's good. But sometimes I think I won't say he tries too hard with the, you know, the ick factor. But you know, I guess I just have to be in the right frame of mind for David Cronenberg. Anyway, but you know, when it's subtle but it stays with you, I think that's the lasting thing. Especially if it's people with, you know, the creepy things happening to them in just regular situations, because you know, getting the Gothic tradition is great, but when things started to really get away from, you know, the creepy, creaky castle and into, you know, you know, strange things happening in, you know, uh, London suburbs or quiet New England towns, you know? Looking at you, H.P. Lovecraft. um, that's when it gets, you know, or your suburban neighborhood, you know? That's when it gets, that's when it starts getting, this is getting close to home. Which is why Stephen King is so effective, because, as people have described him, he's the Norman Rockwell of horror, you know? This spooky stuff is happening to people that could live next door to you, you know? They might even be you, you know, for all we know. First the thought. And also just started reading Just After Sunset. A funny story about the edition of the book that I'm reading. It's a large print edition, and it's driving me crazy. It's like my eyesight isn't the best, but it's good enough when I've got my glasses on that, you know, large print drives me a little nuts. So it's like I'm kind of have. I was trying to get the book. They didn't have the regular edition. I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a shot with the large print edition, and I'm kind of wishing I'd waited until the regular edition to come back onto the shelf. But I've noticed sometimes if you wait if you wait for the book to come back on the shelf, sometimes somebody will beat you to it. Somebody will eat it. You know, it disappears into a crack in the matrix. I don't know. You know, it just gets away from you somehow. So I figured, okay, I'll just give this a go and just, you know, just ride with it. But I'm wondering if I should try taking my glasses off while I'm reading it, because it's kind of, I'm not saying the large print is giving me a headache, but it's a little, how do I read book? You know? It's like, it's like with finer print that I had, and certain fonts I have a problem with. I mean, it just, I would say it makes me dizzy, but sometimes it's like, can you make this type a little larger? You know, it doesn't have to be huge, but, you know, it's like, yeah. It's probably an age thing, unfortunately, and I might just need to have my eyes checked again. I should do that every year, but it wasn't happening last year, because last year was the summer of the market basket uprising, so I didn't have much in the way of cash flow, so the appointment that I'd had, I wound up having to cancel because I wasn't sure how the heck I was going to pay for it, so this year, amongst other things. So, other than that, usual Saturday stuff. Usual Sunday stuff. Well, not entirely usual Sunday stuff. Today, my dad had to work today, so that meant we had to go to Mass at St. Michael's in North Andover, which, you know, it's not very immaculate. You know, I'm always like to say it's a matter of fulfilling our Sunday obligation to get out of there, but sometimes that's how it feels, because it's just not our first choice in a place to go to Mass, so. But I won't dwell on that too much, because, you know, I hate to complain about things in my, you know, things in my religious practice. It just, you know, I don't exactly say it feels like a first world problem, but, you know, to me, it just seems a little, it's not something I choose to grumble about. It's like, you know, for that matter, I try not to, I've been trying to do less grumbling lately, because, you know, it just, I would say it doesn't seem to get me anywhere, and sometimes I just feel like, you know, other people got their problems. I almost think I'd rather listen to them than make them listen to mine. Maybe it's just the line of work I'm in, because, you know, you know, you get Mrs. Tolliver, you know, complaining about her bunions or her gallbladder surgery or something, you know, and you try and be patient and listen to people and just, you know, just be understanding and get it that people have, you know, people have their stuff that they're dealing with, and, you know, they want to be heard, you know, they want to feel that they're not alone, and it's like, you know, I try and be patient, although sometimes it gets a little excessive. Case in point, one guy that I had recently who was carping about all kinds of stuff, and the customers in back of him were kind of going, eh? You know? I waited until he went out the door, and I just looked in his direction, looked back at the cashier, and said, well, that guy was a lovely bunch of lollipops, which got the people who had been, you know, in back of him and going, and it's complaining. I got them laughing. When I'm able to make people laugh when the situation is a little, oh, what do we do here? You know, that's always a good feeling because, you know, it helps to defuse things. It helps to lighten things up. So anyway, that's that. Seems like there was something else I was going to tell, but maybe I'll save that for another video and get this up. You know, get this posted and get this up to you. So happy viewing, folks, and I'll see you around.